The wind carried a chill through the empty roads as Rachel O'Neill stepped off the bus into the small village. The sky was overcast, with grey clouds swirling above, as if even nature knew this was not the place she had planned to be. Her luggage was simple, a duffel bag and a small carry-on, her life packed into a few unremarkable bags. She had left everything behind: her career in the city, her family, the constant hum of life. It had all felt too loud, too heavy. The loss of her fiancé, Nathan, 6 months ago had silenced everything. She hadn't realized how quiet the world could be without someone to love. So, Rachel had taken the first train out, following the words of a forgotten postcard she had found on Nathan's old desk, a postcard from this small village, tucked away in a drawer, with nothing but the words, "Come here, find your peace." Rachel didn't know who had written it, but she figured she could try. The village was far smaller than she expected, tucked away between rolling hills and tall, narrow trees. The houses were quaint, their colors faded by years of wind and rain. As she walked the dirt path that ran through the center, her boots kicked up dust, and the silence stretched out before her, thick like the fog she had left behind. She found the inn easily enough, a small, cozy building with a sloped roof and ivy growing along the side. The door creaked as she entered, and the warmth of the fire inside immediately greeted her. "Welcome," a voice called out from behind the counter. A man with a weathered face and silver hair stood up, wiping his hands on a faded apron. His name was Martin. He was the only one running the inn, he told her. "Not many come through these parts anymore. But I'm glad you found your way here." Rachel offered a small smile that didn't speak much. She wasn't sure what to say. That evening, after she had settled into a room with a view of the rolling hills, Rachel found herself staring out the window, thinking about how much life had changed, how much she had lost in the process. But the night was quieter here. The winds were gentler. It almost felt like the air was giving her permission to breathe again. The next morning, as she sat in the inn's cozy dining room, sipping tea, Martin came over with a soft smile. "There's a local trail you might want to try," he said, placing a map in front of her. "It's peaceful, you walk long enough, and you might just hear your own thoughts." Rachel glanced at the map, uncertain. But something about his kindness made her nod. "I'll give it a try." The trail was well worn, a path through the woods that led up to a secluded hilltop. It was quiet, save for the sound of the birds above and the soft rustle of leaves beneath her feet. As she walked, Rachel let her thoughts wander, letting herself drift back to memories of Nathan, his laughter, their plans for the future, the dreams that had now crumbled into the dust of her past. When she reached the hilltop, she stopped to catch her breath, the view taking her by surprise. The village lay below, a collection of quiet homes surrounded by green. She stood there, taking in the moment, and for the first time in months, something loosened inside her chest. Then, she noticed the man sitting by the old oak tree. He was tall, dressed in a weathered jacket, his face turned toward the sky as if lost in thought. Rachel didn't know why, but she approached him, slowly. He didn't seem to notice her at first, but as she neared, his eyes flicked to her, and he gave a small nod. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said, his voice quiet. Rachel nodded, unsure of what to say. "I'm Lucas," he introduced himself after a beat. "I live on the edge of the village. Come up here often, when I need to think." She hesitated. "I'm Rachel," she replied, her voice still unfamiliar to herself. For a long moment, they stood in silence, watching the world below. There was something about the stillness that felt comforting, like the land itself was healing from its own long seasons of hardship. Finally, Rachel spoke. "I didn't expect this place to feel like this," she gestured to the hills around them. "I didn't expect peace to look like this." Lucas looked at her, his expression unreadable. "It's easier to find when you stop running from it." She didn't have a response for that, but as the evening stretched on, and the sky turned gold with the setting sun, Rachel found herself speaking more freely, sharing her story with Lucas, a stranger who understood the silence between words. Days passed, and Rachel returned to the hilltop every morning. Sometimes Lucas would be there, and sometimes she would walk alone. But each time, she felt herself grow stronger, a little more settled. One day, after a long silence between them, Lucas finally spoke. Sometimes, the most difficult part of healing is letting yourself feel again. Rachel looked at him, considering his words. I don't think I ever realized how much I was holding on to. Until it was gone. Lucas nodded. You'll know when it's time to let go. And when it is, you'll realize that peace isn't something you find. It's something you make. Rachel smiled, a small weight lifting from her chest. The seasons passed, slowly at first, and then with more certainty. She was no longer running from the past. She no longer held her pain so tightly, afraid that, if she let it go, she'd forget who she was. And in the soft quiet of this small village, Rachel found not just the peace she had been seeking, but also the courage to begin again. In time, she and Lucas grew closer, both learning to heal in the presence of the other. They didn't speak of love. There was no rush. Sometimes, healing came in the quiet moments, the unspoken connection between two people who understood what it meant to be broken and to find a way to be whole again. One afternoon, when Lucas came inside, Rachel was sitting by the window, looking at the hills that had been her sanctuary. In his hand was a petite, carved wooden horse. It's for you, he said. I made it for you, Rachel. Rachel looked at the carving and then back at Lucas. There was no need for words, only understanding. The quiet love that had grown between them didn't need to be spoken. It was already there, soft and steady like the earth beneath them. She accepted the carving and realized that peace wasn't just a place. It was a person, a moment. Sometimes, it came gently when you least expected it.